So as we move forward, Kyle Shanahan made it clear that he's looking inside, outside, anywhere, everywhere. However, they have a system that they run, a preferred system. That is one of the reasons why this was a problem under Steve Wilks, because that wasn't his system of specialty. Shanahan was asked, is he committed to the system they've been running, or would you hire a defensive coordinator with his own system? This is what he had to say.
I'm committed to trying, with the situation we're in, trying to find what we believe will give the Niners the best chance in 2024. And when you have a group of guys who have played at a high level doing certain things a specific way for a while, I do feel that's the best thing to do for them. But if I find something that I believe in and I could be sold on that could be a better avenue, I would never hesitate to do that. So I'm not closed-minded in any way. I'll look in every possibility. But, you know, when you have some good players who have played at a high level and done it a certain way, I'm not just trying to change that. You know, I lean towards trying to keep them doing similar stuff that they've been very good at that's got us very far. But I have to make sure that I find the right person who's capable of leading our group in that way, that the standard of how we have done it and that the belief that we'll continue to get better at it, I believe in with whoever I choose to do this for us.
D'Amico Ryans and Robert Saleh were obviously very energetic on the sideline. I don't know if, that had anything to do with your decision.
That has nothing to do with my decision. Watch Saleh now. He's not that energetic. Now that energetic on the sidelines has absolutely nothing to do with coaching.
There's a reason Robert Saleh is not energetic anymore. He has nothing about which to be energetic, frankly, with his current team. So I think if they were winning more games, he'd be a little more boisterous on the sideline. I mean, his default demeanor now, I would interpret it as, at what time am I going to be home? When will this
My team
end?
is ass.
When can I go to bed? It feels good to laugh and smile a little bit after what we've been dealing with today. And again, that's what we try to provide to you. We're not being frivolous on a day where frivolity seems out of place. We're just trying to give you something. I feel like Shanahan talked himself away from insisting on the same system and talked himself back to, we probably need to do the system that we do. It's kind of like a therapy session instead of a press conference. And he talked it through, and this was the problem. Again, if I don't want to worry about whether or not my defense is going to get the job done, I need somebody who has the system that is suited to the personnel. That's the one thing that we have to remember. You have personnel that has been carefully selected and developed and coached over the years to run a certain system. If you bring in somebody else, this guy doesn't fit anymore. We need this guy. This guy's getting too much money to do what we expect him to do in this defense. It's going to be a season of transition. He doesn't want a season of transition. He wants to keep going. He wants to go back to the Super Bowl and win it. And he doesn't want to spend week 1 through week 18 worrying constantly about whether or not the defense is going to hold up its end of the bargain. It's that simple. And wouldn't it be something? I would call him if I was Kyle Shanahan. I'd call Pete Carroll. You want somebody to come in and run the Seattle defense? How about the godfather of it? Bring him in. Wouldn't that be something? And if I'm Pete Carroll and I wanted to remain the coach of the Seahawks and I got the door closed in my face like Michael Scott with Robert Dunder, hell yeah, I'll go coach the 49ers defense. Hell yeah, I'll do it. I'm still in the game, baby, and I have full dominion of one half of the team. And Kyle knows he can trust me. And I will be energetic. Even though that isn't a factor, you will see me chomping the hell out of that gum and running up and down the sidelines and throwing the passes pregame and being everything that I was in Seattle. Man, usually I root when it comes to the NFL for drama and controversy and chaos. This is something that would be a blast to see Pete Carroll running the San Francisco defense, Chris, or Miles. Chris, Or Miles.
I don't know who I am anymore.
Sorry, Miles. Sorry, Miles. That's the worst thing I've ever called you. Chris. Not in the Jim Rome sense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let me just turn this table over and then we'll really get the Jim Rome, Jim Everett effect. I think it would be funny to see Pete Carroll in the San Francisco 49ers colors. I think that might hurt a lot of people in Seattle. I mean, Mike Vrabel obviously is a guy that was a linebacker, was a linebackers coach. That also would make sense to make the call if he wants to stay in the game this year, not just do broadcasting. Like that to me, I mean, he doesn't necessarily run that same Seattle-based system. But, if you want somebody who is more front to back than back to front, that also does make sense. And I think it would also be kind of cool to see Mike Vrabel and Kyle Shanahan work together. I think that would be fun.
And then there's the Bill Belichick possibility, which I assume would never happen, but they are friendly. There is mutual respect there. Wouldn't that be something? If
That
Bill Belichick, who is currently faced with the reality that he's not going to be involved in coaching this year. He'll be involved in TV in some capacity, so he'll still be in the game, and I think he wants to use that platform to make himself attractive to owners who might and will be. We know that it will be inevitable that they'll be hiring coaches next year, but maybe the way to position himself for it is to get right back on the horse, humble himself by taking on a position of defensive coordinator, win a Super Bowl, which, by the way, will delay his effort to become a head coach next year. But it's just any of those three, I think, would be great, and it would make me feel less confused and disappointed that Kyle Shanahan didn't give Steve Wilks a fair shake because he knew what he was hiring. And the only thing I can say in defense of Kyle is he didn't know how stressful it was going to be for him to go through that year where he has a defensive coordinator who was kind of learning the system on the fly and not coaching the way that he was used to with DeMeco Ryans and Robert Saleh before him. Also, and again, they don't seem to be inclined to change the system, but this is a point that Chris Sims harps upon. The Seattle scheme gets exposed at the worst possible times. 4 of the 5 biggest second-half collapses in Super Bowl history were by that defense, including the 10 points that the Seahawks were leading the Patriots by 9 years ago, and they blew that lead. But all the other times we've seen these big leads squandered, 4 out of the 5 were Seattle's scheme. They got picked apart. And Chris is big on explaining how you can use plays that stress the rules of that defense and find the openings. That's true of any defense. You've got 11 guys on the field. If you have a system that is a little too rigid, you allow for openings. Remember when the Tampa 2 was first in vogue, the soft underbelly of that was the tight end seam route down the middle because the safeties were too deep and you needed an athletic linebacker who could cover the tight end who was taking off into that soft spot in the zone. Every defense has that. If you are so committed to scheme that you don't have the flexibility to cover the spots where the guys are going to go, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, well, it does to me. I mean, like, that's why Mike McDonald has been so good because he runs that multiple scheme. He is very adaptable. No, Vic Fangio, another guy that has kind of done that, right? Where you are that adaptable. Bill Belichick obviously has been adaptable basically his whole career. That's what has made him such a great defensive coach. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get from snap to snap or from, week to week. Everything could look different. So yeah, when you talk about multiple defenses and, what a defense looks like and what are defensive rules and things like that. I mean, you said, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes and he can do all these things. Well, Andy Reid also is a damn good offensive schemer, right? And he's given a lot of credit to Matt Nagy for what he's done this year and all that. But when you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and they're two of the best to ever do it at their respective positions, I mean, that's why they understand how to expose some of the rules, right? And some of these soft spots within defenses that they're elite like that.
Well, we'll see how elite the next defensive coordinator of the 49ers is, whether the system is sufficiently flexible to cover up those flaws in those key moments. And it's an unexpected storyline that we'll be following. And Kyle Shanahan needs to move fairly quickly because it's going to be time to go scout. Not that Shanahan shows up anymore, but still, at the scouting combine, there will be the official commencement, not that it hasn't already started, of evaluating who you're going to bring in. And if you're going to change that system at all, the rookie class is going to be your best way to get the players who'll be better suited to a different system. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.